The third principle of especially for athletes is resilience. I'd love to share just a personal experience with you. I had the opportunity, like I said, to coach on a lot of different levels over the last 20 years. I had the opportunity to coach one particular Little League team from 5th grade all the way through high school, which was really special because you get to know a lot of these kids really, really well. The first team that I had coached was a 5th grade team that was a B team. And in B team rules, at least in the state of Utah, they have a certain rule called 10 plays. Every single kid has to play at least 10 plays in every single game, which is super cool because it gives every kid at least an opportunity to play. And you have to chart it, and there's some coach who's usually a dad who doesn't know very much about anything, who just kind of has a clipboard and charts the plays to make sure that every kid got their 10 plays. But the kids keep track of this too. And at the end of one of these games that we were coaching, and there was an absolute beatdown, and our team had just gotten hammered. And one of these players was really emotional after the game. And he's crying and off to himself, and we're sitting there talking, and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, I'm a 10-play kid." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I played 10 plays today. I'm officially one of the worst players on one of the worst teams. I'm a 10-play kid." And he was heartbroken. And for a minute we sat there and said, "Well, wait a sec, there's an opportunity here, and I'm sorry you feel that way, but you have to remember there's a lot of football ahead of your career. So rather than complain about it, or rather than getting mad at the coach, maybe you can email the coach and the head coach and just ask him, what are some of the things I can work on? What are some of the things I can do better to try to get more plays?" So that's what this player decided to do. And he worked harder throughout the year and started to play 12 plays, 14 plays, 15 plays. Well, fast forward, the next year he was still on a B team in 6th grade. And this player, though, now has started to become a pretty good player on this B team. Then fast forward to 7th grade, he was actually continued to work and became one of the better players on the B team. 8th grade, this kid continued to work and continued to grind, continued to be resilient, and ended up making his A team for the first time as an 8th grader. And it was a little bit of a shock and awe because everyone's big and fast and scary, and ended up being pretty good, but you could tell he still had some growth. In 9th grade, he made the A team again and became one of the better players on this A team. Now, fast forward into high school, this kid continued to just grind and work and hoped that at some point puberty would start to kick in. And then sophomore year, some of his buddies started to get pulled up, and they're playing JV and even varsity. And he's just on the sophomore team. One of the better players on the sophomore team. In fact, ended up getting the defensive MVP award, but still on the sophomore team. Then his junior year, he's playing some varsity, a few plays, but a lot of his buddies are now playing varsity, and he's still just playing some JV, and continued to just grind and grind and grind, understanding that his goal was one day to start varsity. Fast forward, this was the spring of COVID, and everything became shut down during what was supposed to be spring ball going into his senior year. And so for 3 months, when everyone was supposed to be working out and doing all of this lifting and all of these practices and 7-on-7, nothing was happening. Everybody was locked down. And this player decided that I'm going to go to a neighbor's house, and I'm going to sneak in their back door, and I'm going to wipe everything down with Clorox, and I'm going to work out. And I'm going to lift 5 times a week. While everybody else is trapped inside for 2 months not doing anything, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, quietly, by myself, in the world of COVID. And I'm going to pound a 1,700 calorie shake every single night before I go to bed. Every night. He did this for 2.5 months when nobody could see anybody. And then he showed up in July, 20 pounds heavier, stronger, and the coaches were like, "Wow, what happened to you?" He ended up starting varsity his senior year for the best defense in the state, one of the top teams in the entire state of Utah. Had an incredible season. Well, I saw this kid after the third game we were talking, and I looked down and I noticed on his tape they have all these initials and they have numbers and all these weird cryptic things that players do. And I saw some numbers I recognized, and of course there's a mom and a dad, and there was a number 10. And I was like, who's number 10? Like I'm trying to think of the roster and who number 10 is. And he goes, "Oh, that's just for me." And he got a little embarrassed. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "That's my reminder of 5th grade when I was a 10-play kid." And I write that every week to remind myself that what hard work can do. that some resiliency, what resiliency can do if you just continue to grind and continue to grind. And this kid, from 5th grade to one of the best linebackers in the state, had proven to himself and to others that I deserve to play. Now, does this kid go on to the NFL? No. Does this kid go on to be some incredible college athlete? No. But did he develop life skills and resiliency that will translate to the business world? Yes. To relationships? Yes. To doing good in the world? Yes. Absolutely. The reason I know this story so well is because this is my son. And as a dad, I had the opportunity to watch him go through this process and quietly see him continue to work when no one was watching and when nobody was keeping score, keeping track, because he had a goal that he was going to accomplish no matter what it took. And that is what Especially for Athletes is teaching, with resiliency to continue to grind and dig in when things get hard. When adversity strikes, you have two options. You can either quit or you can press. It's easy to quit. It's hard to press. It's hard to keep walking. It's hard to keep moving. It's hard to keep getting back up. But those are life skills that translate into everything that you will do throughout your life. That's why I love the principle of resiliency.